You're listening to Parents, You've Got This, the expert guide to parenthood.
The complete guide to pregnancy, birth, baby and parenthood.
Going from one baby to two is such an important, game-changing time for families. It can be so deeply rooted in guilt, in uncertainty, in excitement, in all of the above.
We're so lucky that today we have our Paediatric Psychologist expert, Dr. Deirdre Brandner, on to talk to us all about this important time. Dr. Deirdre has spent over 30 years helping families with little ones right up to adolescents, helping them navigate this tricky time.
So Dee, thank you so much for being here with us today. Let's start at the beginning of the journey to introducing a new sibling. When we've just fallen pregnant, when would you suggest we start talking to our child about the fact that they might be having a brother or sister soon?
I think that it's really important to consider the age of your child. So if you've got a little one, the idea of mum is having a baby or there's a baby in mummy's tummy is very abstract. And even showing them sonogram pictures, that's probably not going to hit home. So I think with the little ones, it's better waiting to actual visible signs that mummy's having a baby. But also with older ones, be prepared to answer lots of honest questions in an age-appropriate manner.
That's such great tips. And I think often when a sibling's coming along, often it's people who've got toddlers, and you can be really tired when you're pregnant and not being able to give your toddler the time and attention it needs. Have you got any tips around this?
Well, I want you to consider that parent guilt has to go out the window on this. You might not be able to do all the things you used to do. Go to the park, do all the classes, spend hours at the swings. Reduce the load and your expectation, because I need you as a mum to be looking after yourself. That will make you a better parent to your toddler.
Dee, what do you suggest when it comes to actually that first introduction with a toddler or a small child and a baby? How does this play out? I think we see it in different ways in the movies. It happens differently in our heads. What are some realistic expectations and plans that we can put in place to make the transition really smooth?
My suggestion is that when your little one enters the room to see their new sibling for the first time, that mum isn't holding the sibling. The sibling's with someone else or in the crib. As a parent, as mum, I need you to focus on your child, to smile and make it about them. Keep the interaction with their new sibling brief and don't expect too much. I guarantee you the quality of that first interaction with their new sibling is not going to set the pattern for the rest of their lives.
That's a relief.
And what's a normal reaction? Are most children in love with that little sibling, or do you find that they are not quite disturbed by it? I remember my little one, after a couple of weeks saying, time for Hudson to go home, go back to hospital now, and I was like, oh, he's not really going to go back to hospital.
I can imagine that that's absolutely the case. Children will often be either a little bit dismissive or unsure. They'll definitely take time to warm up to this concept, and I think we as parents need to walk that journey with them. So focus on their reaction at the time, not an expectation of how it should be, because it's really normal to be jealous. It's really normal to see some regression in behaviour, and remember that that's all within what is possible at this stage.
Dee, how long can we expect it to take for our child to, get used to the fact that there's another little person around?
I think what happens initially is that newborns are usually quite compliant, so they're not going to intrude on your toddler's life. When they start doing things, moving things, or being a little bit more noisy, that's often where we see children going, hang on a minute. So I would say up to 5 to 6 months is before we can get a real adjustment.
And do you have any tips for introducing them at home? Once you've been at the hospital, they've sort of met them for the first time, and then you bring them into the toddler's environment or the child's environment. Do you have any tips?
Make sure that you're scheduling one-on-one time for your toddler. I know that's tricky, but that's really important. Keep the routine as much the same as possible for your toddler, and also make sure we get them involved. So getting them to, go and get the nappy or go and get a toy. Ask their opinion. What should we put, baby Annabelle in today? Or what toy should we choose for, baby Edward to take on our walk? that gives them, a collaboration with you having this little one in their home.
And does the same thing follow then, Dee, in terms of adjusting to the routine with the toddler's movements? Do we try and work it around the baby? Do we work it around the toddler? How would you suggest that we go about continuing their normal activities?
I think that toddlers need routine as much as possible, but you as a parent need to be conscious of being flexible. And we often try to do too many things because we're trying to compensate from the fact that we're not doing all that we did before with our toddler. The toddler just wants you there in that home. So whether you aren't going off on, park visits or, going to the gym with them, that doesn't matter now. The most important thing is having them at home with you, playing with their toys, doing their thing.
And so as friends, how do we help our friends that are going from 1 to 2?
What can be really helpful as a friend is not to say to the toddler, wow, you've got a new baby sister or you've got a new baby brother. Focus on giving feedback like, oh, baby Annabelle's so lucky to have a big brother like you. Take the baby for a walk so mum can spend time with the toddler. We would sometimes try to take the toddler away and amuse them, but what mum often wants is time, valuable time with their toddler that they feel like they might be missing out on.
On that day, what sort of language would you suggest that a parent use with their toddler when they're talking about the baby? Is it similar to that sort of language a friend would use?
It is. It's focusing on not how lucky are you to have a new baby in your house. It's, I know baby Annabelle is so happy when she sees you get this toy. I know baby Edward is so happy when he sees you building with your blocks. Having a moment where the toddler or the little one and you are observing the baby together can help form that relationship in a really natural, developmental way.
It's so amazing, isn't it, how when the new baby comes home, all of a sudden the other child seems so much bigger.
Yes.
It's like they just grow before your eyes. It's a transition for everybody.
I think that's an important point. I think sometimes when we come home and we see that our toddler looks so much bigger, inadvertently we can expect too much for them.
Yes, definitely.
Try to remember that they're still a little person who needs lots of understanding and lots of love.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know how I'd feel if my husband brought home a new wife and said, oh, isn't she gorgeous? You should just love her. She's so beautiful. And I think that's sort of how toddlers can sometimes feel.
Absolutely. Yes, they're so precious. We do know it takes time, but I can promise you, mums and dads out there, they do learn to get along, and it's a negotiation, but that is a normal part of development. We're all going to have new situations in our life that we have to learn to cope with.
Well, Dee, that was fantastic. Such great tips and tricks there for our families. You've been listening to the Expert Guide to Parenthood, and never forget, parents, you've got this.
Join a Parents You've Got This masterclass today to be prepared, excited and educated for pregnancy, birth, baby and parenthood. Visit www.parentsyouvegotthis.com.au and sign up for a masterclass today.